Think about Jayden Daniels. When he goes to the line and he positions his guys and he claps that hand, it's kind of like that box of chocolate that Forrest Gump would talk about. You never know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be good. On the other side of the line, you don't know what you're going to get, but you can be pretty sure it's going to be bad. And that's what's really, really fun to watch this young man run an offense.
Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy Evans, strong leg, it's over in. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep to the end zone. Up the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 50,
And the winner is...
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Welcome to another episode of the official Heisman Trophy podcast. Happy Halloween out there to those of you who celebrate. We're at this really nice part of the season where we get playoff baseball, the NBA is starting, college basketball's around the corner, and I'm pretty sure hockey started too. Wait, has hockey started? It doesn't matter. We have a great show for you today. We're going to lead off our show with LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. Has he been on fire lately or what? And just like last week was an all FSU episode, this is going to turn out to be an all LSU episode because in our B block, we're going to tell the story of Billy Cannon's Halloween Run. I guess you can say it's an LSU-themed and Halloween-themed episode. But before we get to Jayden Daniels, let's kick things off like we always do by rounding up the latest in the Heisman race. And I was just kidding about the hockey.
It's the Heisman Roundup.
Week 8. The dog days of October have taken hold in the race for the Stiff Arm Trophy, and the college football gods are doing what they do best, hurling lightning bolts upon Heisman candidates from coast to coast. It's looking more and more like Archie Griffin's remarkable double Heisman is safe for at least one more season anyway. Will we ever see another two-time winner? While we ponder that, let's start off this week's Heisman Roundoff with FSU's Jordan Travis. Fresh off the heels of headlining the official Heisman Trophy podcast, he led the number 4 Seminoles to a 38-20 come-from-behind victory over number 16 Duke. He threw for 262 yards and 2 touchdowns and added 62 scary yards on the ground. That included a key fourth-quarter 2-yard rush that put FSU ahead for good.
Duke shuffling around. It's a keeper all the way. Travis turns the corner and scores. And the quarterback puts FSU on top for the first time.
In the biggest game of the weekend, number 3 Ohio State defeated number 7 Penn State in the Horseshoe, thanks to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dominant 11-catch, 162-yard performance. In the last 3 games, he's been outstanding, catching 25 balls for 430 yards despite nursing a sore ankle. Against the Lions, the junior wideout, who was on our show a few weeks ago, by the way, caught this 18-yard touchdown pass from Kyle McCord that ended up being the nail in the coffin for Penn State.
McCord over the middle. Harrison Jr. again. Down the sideline. Maserati Marv. Touchdown.
Maserati Marv, huh? I don't know about that one. Check out this week's podcast, Jayden Daniels of LSU, who continues to tear it up for the Tigers. Since a Week 0 loss to FSU, Daniels has rushed and passed for at least 4 touchdowns in all but 1 game, and now has a combined 30 touchdowns on the season. In limited action against Army last Saturday, he completed 11 of 15 passes for 279 yards and 3 scores, and chipped in a rushing touchdown as the number 19 Tigers won going away 62-0. Let this 86-yard bomb to Brian Thomas Jr. serve as an extra tasty pre-Halloween morsel for everyone.
Here's Jayden Daniels on the run. And go down the sideline. Caught by Brian Thomas Jr. And he will take it to the house. 86-yard touchdown from Daniels to Thomas.
Oregon's Bo Nix set an NCAA record last Saturday by notching his 54th career start as the number 9 Ducks bounced back from a ghoulish loss to Washington the previous week by beating Wazoo 38-24. Nix threw for 293 yards on 18 of 25 passing and scored on this 2-yard run that put Oregon ahead for good as the Ducks kept their conference title and playoff hopes alive.
A keeper for Nix, and he gallops across the goal line. Bo Nix gives the Ducks the lead.
And finally, J.J. McCarthy continued to trick his opponents while treating his teammates to the end zone as number 2 Michigan buried in-state rival Michigan State 49-0. The junior signal caller tossed 4 touchdown passes and had 287 yards through the air as the Wolverines remained undefeated. His first score, a 25-yarder to Roman Wilson, was a thing of beauty.
McCarthy in trouble, gets away, on the run, touchdown! Roman Wilson does it again, his 10th of the season from 25 yards out.
Take an even deeper dive into Heisman lore by going to Heisman.com, home to all things Heisman, including news, bios, and the latest on all the winners, plus updates on the Heisman Trophy Trust and its charitable mission. It's the A to Z for everything Heisman, from Alan Amici to Danny Werfel. We really need a Heisman winner whose name begins with Z.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, 1993 Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Our opening guest for this week's episode has been on a tear lately. And incidentally, so has his team, which leads the nation in both scoring and total offense. Appropriately enough, he leads the nation in passing efficiency with a 204.32 rating, which incidentally would be an NCAA record if the season ended today. He has 2,573 yards passing with a 73% completion percentage, over 11.5 yards per attempt, 25 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He's also getting it done on the ground as well, with 521 yards so far, to go with 5 rushing touchdowns, which gives him a total of 30 touchdowns running and passing on the year so far. He's an exciting player, one of the best players in the country. Could he be the best? We'll find out pretty soon. His team has a huge matchup with number 9 Alabama in Tuscaloosa this Saturday. And in keeping with the spirit of the times, he is also a transfer player who started out his career in the Pac-12 at Arizona State. Lots of transfers out there competing for the Heisman. Keep in mind, 4 of the last 6 Heisman Trophy winners have been transfers. And of course, I'm talking about Jayden Daniels, senior quarterback for the LSU Tigers. Thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Jayden, as good as you were last year, it looks like you're one of the most improved quarterbacks in the nation so far this year. You already have more touchdown passes than you did all of last season, and you're gaining even more yards on the ground. Plus, you're leading the nation in passing efficiency. What do you think has caused this jump in production for you?
I would just say just the work I put in throughout the offseason, coming back. And, I wanted to be better than I was last year, obviously. You always want to improve, but, making sure that I had a plan set on how I'm going to get better. All assets of being a quarterback, leadership and footwork, fundamentals, things like that, and just trying to grow my knowledge of the game.
I heard you wanted to gain some weight too. What did you play at last year, and what are you playing at now?
Yeah, so last season I played around 195. This year I'm playing around 207, 208. Just being able to just put on that weight, it's helped me gain more confidence.
The entire LSU offense has turned into one of the most explosive attacks in the country. You're averaging over 45 points per game. What do you think was the turning point for you guys that really got things clicking?
Yeah, this is how confident we were coming into the season. Obviously, we didn't play up to the standard that we wanted to in the first game, but we knew what we were capable of as an offense. After that Grambling game, we just kept rolling. We gained more confidence. We never really lost confidence, but, you gain more confidence each game. Just going out there and be able just to produce at a high level, that's something that we knew we could do, and we just had to go show it.
These last 3 games heading into the Army contest, you're averaging 107 yards on the ground. Have you been trying to make a concerted effort to get more ground yards, or is it just a matter of taking advantage of your opportunities?
It's just taking advantage of opportunities. Obviously, we have a very good running back in Logan Diggs, that could carry the load. So I just pick and choose my battles when I need to run and when I don't. There's times that the defense that allows me to run, If I see something, just take it and be decisive and go get the yards. I always want to stay ahead of the chains and don't want to have negative plays. But, I just take advantage of the opportunities when they're presented.
I tell you what, you seem really fearless out there when you're going. You're taking lots of big hits. Are your coaches getting on you about sliding more?
Of course they are.
So on each play, there's in the back of your head this directive that you should slide if the opportunity arises. But then you've got these other situations where I can imagine the competitive instinct just kind of takes over and you can't slide.
I'm just a competitor. I just get caught up in the moment. Obviously, I got to be smarter and pick and choose my battles. But, I bounce right back up. But, that's just me being a competitor. Obviously, you want to fight for more yards, help the team out. But, just got to pick and choose your battles.
Well, heck, being bigger and stronger now, it's even more reason to run, right?
They don't want me to run as much, but in my eyes, yeah.
You're in your second year at LSU as a California transplant by way of ASU and El Cajon High. What's been the biggest cultural adjustment you've had to make living in Baton Rouge?
Last year when I first got here, it was the different type of weather. Being from California, Arizona, and going to Arizona State. You deal with the dry heat, stuff like that. So when I first got here, it was raining and dealing with the humidity. That was probably the biggest cultural shock for me.
I heard the last year or so it's been actually not very much rain at all, so it's almost been a little bit like the desert, huh?
No, it's been hot. It's still humid out here. It was hot this summer. It's probably the hottest summer I've been a part of.
Have you had a chance to go to Mardi Gras yet or any of the other festivities surrounding that time of year?
I didn't. I almost went this year, but I went to go work out in Dallas for a couple of days. So I missed out on the Mardi Gras.
Is that something on your bucket list to do before you leave LSU?
Most definitely it's something I want to do in the future, just to experience that. But, I had to go and get some work in. That's just how the mindset I was. I enjoyed Mardi Gras later down the road, but, I had my eyes set on the goal. I had to do anything I can to achieve it.
Well, the way things are going, you'll probably be the grand marshal of one of the parades down the road. LSU fans are known for their passion and dedication. Can you describe what it's like to play in front of such a passionate fan base at Tiger Stadium?
It's great. Just the energy that they bring. Saturdays, especially nighttime at Death Valley, it's unmatched. I've played on the West Coast. I've been in different stadiums like that. And it's second to none out here, just how passionate they are about LSU football. They show up and show out every week. So, I'm glad that I have a fan base that is rooting for us as a team, supporting us. And I wouldn't want any other fan base in the country.
Quarterbacking in the SEC is notoriously challenging. What are some of the biggest adjustments you've had to make as a quarterback in that conference, both on and off the field?
All eyes are on you every time, everywhere you go, especially, football being so big in the South and you're playing in the Southeastern Conference. Everybody wants to know what you're doing, what you're up to. So on and off the field, you just got to show that you're putting in that work, doing the right things, the little things right every time, because, people are looking at you no matter where you could be at. You go to Walmart or Target, people are going to know who you are. Mm-hmm. So just make sure you're always doing the little things, and showing the best version of yourself.
Yeah. What aspects of your game do you feel you've improved upon the most since arriving at LSU, and what areas are you still working on to become an even better quarterback?
It's obviously, just little things with fundamentals. Sometimes footwork might get lazy or the ball might die on me. Just trying to be consistent with that. And obviously, just keep upping my knowledge for the game of football. There's always more stuff I can learn, always more stuff I can figure out. I feel like what I improved on, it's just the timing and the confidence we have with each other, with myself and the receiver groups, downfield shots, creating more explosive plays, making sure I'm pinpoint accurate so I can put the ball where I want to, exactly put it so I can get my receiver the chance to create explosive plays. And that's something we worked on so hard this offseason to do.
Well, it's certainly showing up on the football field every Saturday. Can you share some of your favorite moments or highlights from your time at LSU so far? Is there a specific game or play that stands out to you as particularly memorable?
I would say last year was the being Ole Miss, coming back that game. obviously the overtime game with Alabama, that was a big one. I'll say this year, I would say just the Mississippi State game, just how we were all flowing on offense. In all assets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. I feel like that's probably one of the most complete games we played this year. We're flying around the ball. Everything was moving. We're efficient on both sides of the ball. So I'll say that's my favorite moment from this season.
Mm-hmm. Beyond football, what are some of your interests and hobbies, and how do you balance your life on and off the field?
Yeah, right now within football, I don't have much of a life. I spend most of my time up here, but in the offseason, I like to hang out, eat, shop, play video games with my friends. So I still do what young teens do, young adults, I should say, do. Just hang out. Just find different ways to stay out of trouble, but also still be locked in. We like to watch YouTube, even when we're not in football. We're still talking about football. Watch YouTube highlights and stuff like that. And just watch other people. Try to keep open, put more knowledge in our brain. But just balancing, the stress that you have to deal with being a student and an athlete. You just got to find different ways to get away from both those life, and then video games does that for a lot of us.
Yeah. Whose highlights do you like to watch the most on YouTube?
I like to watch everybody. Quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is probably a big one for me, just how exciting he is as a player. I like to watch the receivers. I like to watch game highlights from previous seasons, just to see how dominant people were in that season. And we just sit up there and just watch stuff like that.
Do you ever go back and look at any Heisman winners? And did you have any Heisman winners that you liked growing up?
Yeah, Cam Newton, Lamar, and RG3, what they did those type of years is obviously that's something that intrigues me a lot.
Have you had a chance to meet Joe Burrow?
Yeah, of course.
What does he have to tell you, and what's it like having someone who so recently won a Heisman for LSU just around to kind of give you advice?
He just told me to stay focused, keep the main thing. As big as you could get, as fast, as much success you could have, as quick it could be gone. So it's always just, find different ways to stay even keel, keep the guys focused, and don't get caught up with what everybody is saying about you. To stay focused and focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations both in football and in life after your playing career?
Football, I want to finish out this year as best as we can. Obviously don't want to lose a game just being the competitor that I am. So I want to finish out and, enjoy my last year at college the way I want to and the way I can control it to be. And then after life, I want to open like training facilities, help out the youth and stuff like that back home and all around. But I don't really have too much I have set after football. I'm focused on the present right now, but I got to start thinking about that type of stuff soon.
Yeah, still plenty of time to do that. Finally, if you were a Heisman voter and you're looking at a quarterback to potentially vote for the Heisman, what little things would you look for in that player beyond just the yards and touchdowns?
What they do for their team, how important they are to the team's success. There could be a great team around them and stuff like that, but you take them out, what would that team look like? How important are they? How valuable are they to the team? So that's something I look at. Because quarterback is a main position in football. But if you have a great team and you're still going to be a well-oiled machine without that player, how can you say he's a Heisman winner? So that's something I'll look at if I was a voter.
Jayden Daniels, LSU quarterback, leading the nation in passing efficiency. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the official Heisman Trophy podcast, and we wish you and your team the best of luck going forward.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, college football fans, tickets to the 2023 Heisman Trophy Dinner Gala are now on sale. The event takes place in New York City on Sunday, December 10th, the day after the Heisman Trophy ceremony. The guest of honor for the gala is the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner, as well as the 50th anniversary winner John Cappelletti, the 25th anniversary winner Ricky Williams, and the 10th anniversary winner Jameis Winston. Plus, we'll also be honoring the 2023 Heisman Humanitarian Award winner. Just go to Heisman.com to purchase tickets and witness Heisman history. Now we're excited to share with you another Heisman Spotlight, featuring one of the most famous plays in the trophy's history. This is not only a famous moment in Heisman lore, it's one of the most famous moments for the entire state of Louisiana. We're talking a play that has achieved full-on mythological status. If you haven't guessed yet, we're referring to the Halloween Run, 1959 Heisman winner and LSU great Billy Cannon's earth-shattering 89-yard fourth-quarter punt return for a touchdown that gave the number 1 Tigers a 7-3 win over number 3 Mississippi on Halloween night in 1959. Kids growing up in Baton Rouge were raised on similar Halloween traditions as the rest of us. You dress up in your favorite costumes, you load up on your neighbor's candy, and you keep your eyes peeled for ghouls and ghosts. But down in Baton Rouge and in the constellation of small towns that surround it, Halloween also means the local TV stations always run a special segment, and you do an annual salute to the Halloween Run. Where I grew up, we always watched It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown on Halloween. But I think down on the bayou, they watched the Halloween Run first, then Charlie Brown. Now let's set this up a bit. LSU under Coach Paul Dietzel was on a bit of a heater, having won its first national title in 1958 with a perfect 11-0 season, capped with a Sugar Bowl win over Clemson that marked just the second time in the decade that the Tigers had won more than 5 games. The Tigers opened the 1959 season ranked first and won their first 6 games while allowing just 2 field goals in 24 quarters. Cannon played running back for the Tigers, but he also starred on defense. LSU entered the Magnolia Bowl, that's the rivalry game with Ole Miss that dates back to 1894, riding an 18-game winning streak. Dan Bournet is the school's decades-long public address announcer for Tigers football and basketball. He grew up in nearby Thibodaux, Louisiana, about an hour south of Baton Rouge, and he knows the rivalry between LSU and Ole Miss quite well.
You have to put the LSU-Ole Miss rivalry into perspective here. Lots of people look at the LSU-Alabama rivalry as one that's top drawer, but in the 50s and 60s, it was LSU against Ole Miss. That was the great competitive rivalry. But coming out of the 1958 season now, when LSU won its first national championship, the LSU-Ole Miss game was in a tremendous setup. In 1958, LSU was number 1 at the time, 6-0. And Ole Miss came to Baton Rouge, number 6, also 6-0. And LSU beat Ole Miss 14-0 in the championship season. Fast forward to 1959, which is when Billy made the famous run. Ole Miss, because of a quirk in scheduling, came back to Baton Rouge to play in 1959.
As for the Rebels, well, they were smack in the middle of the greatest stretch of football in program history. And that is not up for debate. Between 1957 and 1962, they finished with 10 wins 3 times and had 9 wins the other 3 seasons. The 1960 Rebels team won a share of the national title, and had it not been for Billy Cannon, they might have won it in 1959 too. In fact, had it not been for Cannon, Mississippi might have had its first 11-win season, something the Rebels still haven't attained. And while LSU entered the game with a stout defense that had given up just 6 points, well, Ole Miss had only allowed 7. Now meet Smiley Anders. Like Dan Bournet, he grew up knee-deep in the LSU-Ole Miss rivalry. He and Cannon went to local Estruma High, and though they weren't in the same class, he remembers Cannon as a youth.
He was just kind of a playful kind of guy. He came from kind of a rough area of town. And, a lot of really, pool halls and bars, really sleazy bars. The guys from the Exxon would dock, over there at the Esso docks, and they wind up on this little strip there looking for bars and pool shooting and whatever else sailors look for when they're ashore. And so it was pretty rough. He was fun-loving kid and smart. I sat behind him in American history class, and I confess to looking on his paper once in a while. But he was really a bright kid.
While Anders went on to journalism school, Cannon blossomed into a 6'1", 215-pound athlete, with an emphasis on athlete, since not only was he one of the best football players in the country, but also a track and field standout who set state records by shot putting over 56 feet and running the 100-yard dash in 9.6 seconds. Naturally, he earned a scholarship to LSU. Now, back to Halloween, 1959, which was a dark and stormy night. Well, actually, the almanac will tell you the thunderstorms had drifted out of Baton Rouge well before the 8 p.m. kickoff, but the night air was still thick and sticky and the turf was soggy. Bornay grew up on nights like these. He was 12 when the two teams met.
I've been going to LSU football games since I was around 8 years old. That was in 1954. Okay, so I've been in and out of that stadium for a long, long time, and sat in it when the games were at 8 o'clock, when the lights weren't quite as bright as they are now in the stadium because there was no TV telecast at that time, and when the fog would kind of drift in over the stadium about the start of the third quarter, and it had this ethereal effect. It was like you're in a different world.
No, he wasn't at the game. It was Halloween after all, and he was at a party where all the kids were listening to the game.
I didn't go to the Halloween night game. I heard the game on radio. I was 12 years old. And I recall vividly listening to the entire game. We had a friend who had a Halloween party that night because it was Halloween night. And it was a Saturday. And everyone went to the party, but nobody partied. I mean, we were 12 years old, and everybody at that party sat around a radio and listened to that game. You have to understand, there was one game a week on television back then. Just one game a week. Now you have 50, okay? And so it was the thing. And my little South Louisiana town was 100% LSU when we weren't playing Tulane. When we played Tulane, the population of 14,000 people was pretty well split. But boy, when we were playing Ole Miss, it was LSU all the way. And we listened to that game, and it was as if we were in a trance because all of us were sort of placing ourselves in that stadium. That stadium sat 68,000 people, okay? And having gone to that stadium so many years before and sitting in it, you could just feel yourself in it.
The recorded crowd that night, on homecoming no less, was 67,327, and for most of the night, they watched a defensive struggle with far more punts than points. Initially, Cannon looked more likely to be the GOAT than the hero. He fumbled twice in the first quarter, the second of which led to a short Rebel field goal for a 3-0 lead, a 3-point lead that looked like it may hold up. LSU wound up fumbling 3 times in the first half and could barely move the ball, but entered the third quarter still down just a field goal. A Cannon interception early in the third quarter gave the Tigers their best field position of the night, but field goal kicker Wendell Harris missed a 37-yard try. LSU spent much of the third quarter in Mississippi territory, but one drive ended on a failed fourth down run, and another was stopped on a fake punt. The Rebels, under their longtime coach John Vaught, used their punter Jake Gibbs, who doubled as their quarterback, as a weapon, often punting on first down just to flip the field and pin LSU deep. It worked early in the game, and they stuck to the playbook into the fourth quarter. Cannon returned an early fourth quarter punt 20 yards, but the subsequent drive stalled. But when the Tigers sacked Gibbs for a 10-yard loss that landed him back in Ole Miss territory, Vaught directed Gibbs to punt away. Dietzel instructed Cannon not to field it deep, certainly not if it was near the 10, but Cannon got a clean bounce at the 11-yard line and took off. Cue history. Here's the famous call by LSU play-by-play announcer J.C. Politz, who only announced Tiger football for 2 seasons. But hey, timing is everything.
It's a pass from center. He boots it and gets another nice kick away going way downfield. Billy Cannon watches it bounce. He takes it on his own 11. He comes back upfield to the 15, stumbles momentarily. He's at the 20, running hard at the 25, gets away from one man to 30. Still runs at 25, at the 35 to 25. He's down to 50, he's in the 45, 40. In the 5, he scores! Billy Cannon raced some 89 yards for a touchdown. Listen to the cheer for Billy Cannon as he comes off the field. Great All-American.
As a journalism student at the time, Smiley Anders was working the game as a spotter, making $25 to help photographers with their work. He was on the field in the fourth quarter, but on the opposite side of where Cannon fielded the punt. He didn't see it well at first.
And then he started running, and I didn't see, it was just the damnedest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen it. And Ole Miss had a hell of a team. They were really good. But these guys were hitting him. It's like hitting a brick wall. They were literally just bouncing off of him. He was just determined, by God, he was going to make the goal line. And he was a fast son of a... He was bow rated.
In all, 8 Rebel players got their hands or other body parts on Cannon, but none could slow him down as he raced down the right side of the field into the end zone for the go-ahead score. As you heard from Politz's call, it sent the crowd into a frenzy.
The film of it is fun because running along the sidelines with him is a referee. And you have to figure that referee was probably doing about a 4.340. Cannon was he was an SEC champion sprinter as well as a field guy. So he was a champion both track and field and football.
Rebels All-American Marvin Terrell was on the field that play and described his memories of it in a 2018 interview.
Cannon wasn't even supposed to catch that ball. He was supposed to, just let it hit. It hit on that wet turf, and it bounced right through him. He couldn't get out of the way, so he grabbed it and took off down the sidelines. And there were about 7 of us that missed him on the sideline. And I was the last one chasing him. I couldn't catch him, of course, because, he was probably the fastest guy on the field.
In an interview that Gibbs gave a number of years ago, the Rebels quarterback and punter thought Cannon would fair catch the punt.
They had a rule that do not field the ball within the 15-yard line. And when the ball hit on the 11, he was on the sidelines hollering, no, no, no. Then when Cannon broke 1 tackle, broke 2 tackles, broke 3 or 4 tackles, he was saying, go, go, go.
Cannon's punt return had all the trappings of a game winner, but there was still some 10 minutes to go in the game, and suddenly Ole Miss found a way to move the ball.
So everybody, of course, went crazy. But then we started biting our nails because into the fourth quarter, Ole Miss started driving.
On the Rebels' final drive, they converted 5 first downs and reached the 7-yard line of LSU with about 90 seconds to play. 3 runs netted 5 yards, leaving a 4th and goal from the 2. On 4th down, Ole Miss backup quarterback Doug Elmore tested the left side of the line, but was first met by Warren Rabb, and as he tried to squirt free, Cannon came up to finish off the tackle and the game. Later in his life, Cannon was asked about that final defensive stop.
Well, back then we would get into a gap 8, and then I would move up, be the middle linebacker. Now we had the best linebacker in football playing defensive tackle. Now he held the line 3 times. I batted him back. It was great. But I said, they ain't coming over here the 4th time. And as soon as I saw Charlie didn't have the ball, I'm in hot pursuit, and Warren comes up and makes great contact. We were together last night, TJ Ribbs. He told me, he said, it's been 55 years, you finally gave me credit for the tackle.
If they hadn't stopped him, of course, running everything, it would have been a nice run, but it wouldn't have been like a legend as it is now.
And let's give Dan Bornay the closing comments and where he puts the Halloween run in the history of LSU football.
I think it's absolutely, without question, the first thing that comes to people's minds who have a history of LSU football embedded in them. There have been great runs, there have been great seasons, there have been great athletes. And, we have another Heisman winner now in Joe Burrow and another candidate, strong candidate, in Jayden. But for the old-timers who've been around long, that run tops everything. Because it was not only the run that scored the touchdown that won the game, but it was an incredibly noteworthy individual effort. There was blocking, of course, but to break 7 tackles and to score, that's special. There haven't been many plays in LSU history that would reach that pinnacle. And in my book, it's still number one. Where else could you point to one play where a player ran for a Tiger touchdown, a Tiger victory, and the Heisman Trophy, all in 89 yards?
Billy Cannon's Halloween Run was written and produced by Paul Goldberg, engineered by Chris Houston. Special thanks to Charles Lucier, Dan Bornay, and Smiley Anders down in Baton Rouge for helping us out. Happy Halloween, everybody.
This is Archie Griffin, 1974, 1975's Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman Podcast.
Welcome to a little extra bonus segment on the Heisman Trophy podcast. We were in South Bend, Indiana last weekend for the USC Notre Dame game, and we got some audio of people just around the stadium talking about the Heisman, talking about their memories, and just getting ready to witness a game between two universities with 14 Heisman trophies between them. And some of the people we talked to had memories that went very far back.
What got me to be an SC fan in the beginning was Mike Garrett winning his Heisman, and I've been a Trojan football fanatic since '64.
It appears the further you go back with your Heisman memories, the greater the appreciation is for really any Heisman Trophy winner.
Well, you got to appreciate Archie Griffin, back to back, and I hope Caleb will do the same thing. And, him talking about coming back for a third year, it'd be great to have the only three-time Heisman Trophy winner.
Of course, Heisman hope springs eternal. Some of the fans we chatted with had been tailgating for several hours that day, so perhaps, their memories weren't quite as clear as they could have been.
So Rich Brosnan, my favorite non-USC Notre Dame Heisman memory would have to be Charles Woodson at Michigan doing the Heisman pose in the end zone, and I loved it because eventually he became a Raider, and being a huge Raiders fan, that's the one Raiders jersey I own is a Charles Woodson jersey. So that's my favorite non-USC Notre Dame Heisman pose.
We didn't have the heart to tell him that it was Desmond Howard who struck the Heisman pose after a punt return against Ohio State back in 1991. Of course, Charles Woodson also had a great punt return in 1997 against Ohio State, so it's an understandable mistake.
What was most impressive, and I hate to say this, but I'm here at the Notre Dame game, was Raheem Ismail, watching him play against SC. In 91, we played USC. We played Notre Dame here in South Bend, and ironically enough, we caused them to fumble on two kickoffs, or one kickoff that led to an early touchdown. We lost the game. I'm sorry, it's 89. We lost the game, but Marinovic scored a touchdown on that opening drive. So that's my lasting memory of a non-USC Heisman moment.
The Mandela effect is pretty strong in Heisman history, and this is a great example of it. Raheem Ismail did not win the Heisman Trophy. He was the runner-up to BYU's Ty Detmer in 1990.
I'm 57 years old, so I've been alive for 4 national championships, but I really only remember the last one was in '88, and it was Tim Brown when he won the Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, I'm sure Tim Brown would have loved to have been on that 1988 team. However, he won the Heisman Trophy in 1987, the year before that national title. Time really can play tricks on you. For example,
my name's Stephen Eric Asbury. I'm from Wayne, West Virginia. And just the run that O.J. did in 1967 in South Bend, Indiana, that he broke off that touchdown run, it was just amazing, And I know a lot of people got a lot of bad things to say about O.J., but I'm going to talk about the good things because the past is in the past, and I'm just going to talk about the good things, and that's my Heisman moment.
O.J. did play in South Bend in 1967, but he didn't break off a long run. He did break off a long run later in the year against UCLA, but he didn't win the Heisman until 1968. And we'll close things out with a little tribute to the 50th anniversary Heisman Trophy winner, the 1973 Heisman Trophy winner. Well, you know who he is, don't you?
Before my time, though, only Heisman winner in Penn State history, John Cappelletti. So we almost had another one, but yeah, only one in Penn State history. So all right.
Hope you enjoyed our little man on the street interviews, and we'll see you next week. The official Heisman Trophy podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, co-produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. Paul Goldberg is the executive producer and editor. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to the Heisman Trophy Trust and its executive director Rob Whalen and associate director Tim Henning. The official Heisman Trophy podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find clips of our show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just go to @HeismanTrophy.